Hello everybody, welcome to Mastering Money. This is session number 5, the quantum perspective. This is lecture number 17, a little bit of quantum physics, money equals vibration, part 2. Learning goals, we're going to look at the importance of vibration in life. We're also going to next look at the toolbox that is available to you for achieving your goals. Number 3, what visualization can do for you. So we're going to start with the concept which we call the human vibration spiral, which is a concept I helped design with Cécile COSCULLUELA in 2017. And it's a very simple concept. The concept is that essentially we have 3 things that guide our interaction with our outer reality. The first category is what we call intuition, feelings, and emotions. This is the most basic level. Then the second level is the level of actions, that is, our interaction with our environment. And the third level is the level of assessment of that interaction, and we're going to call that thoughts and beliefs. So there are 3 fundamental levels. Where does this analysis come from? We're going to trace the roots of this particular analysis of the human vibration spiral, which is our toolbox that we're going to be using to create the reality and the goals that we want to achieve. We're going to trace this back to the American philosopher Charles S. Peirce. And this philosopher distinguished between 3 levels of interfacing between humans and our universe, which these 3 levels constitute the sum total of all human experiences. The first level, he called it firstness, and this is our most fundamental connection with the essential nature of reality. Okay, this is the most fundamental. At the level of secondness, this is the level of interaction in physical space with the external world. And the level of thirdness is our mental interpretation of those interactions. There could be interactions with ourselves, with external objects, and if it's an interaction with ourselves, it's like we're taking a distance from looking at ourselves, and it's almost like we're a third person looking in our minds and making a judgment about who we are in ourselves. So this is thirdness. So how do we link the human vibration spiral and this analysis by Charles S. Peirce? Well, firstness really corresponds to the realm of intuition and feelings and emotions. These are our primary objects. These are our primary connections to reality. The level of secondness corresponds to the level of action and reactions. So it corresponds to that level and that step in the human vibration spiral. And then the level of thirdness is the level of thoughts or beliefs. Okay, so I'm going to propose to you that this is really the toolbox that we have available to us to help us lead our lives in the direction that we want to go. So the logic of human vibration spiral indicates the following: that fundamentally the trigger for action is emotion, intuition, and feelings. You can check that with yourself. You may say, well, what pushed me into action? Well, you may say, well, that's a thought. But if the thought had no particular feelings to it, you probably stayed put, sitting in a couch doing nothing. But the emotion, the whatever, sense of urgency, or sense of having to do something, that emotions of wanting to get moving, that emotion of excitement, that's what gets you going, that's what gets you into action. So what are those 3 things? Intuition, it's an internal guiding system that can bypass thought, but sometimes following your intuition can have really good outcome, and we saw that in previous presentations. In terms of the listening to our intuition as another source of information that could be useful for us to make decisions. Emotions, interestingly, the Latin root of the word means to set in motion. So emotions are what pushes people to action, like we said earlier. These are primal. Examples are fear, rage, greed. Those are the emotions that we looked at when we looked at this presentation on the role of emotions on financial markets and financial decisions. Feelings are emotions that have been processed by thought and are a little bit more sophisticated. For example, love, hate, friendship, gratitude. And thought necessarily relates to reality in the sense of being about oneself, about others, events of the world. So thoughts are about things that are happening in the outer reality. Thoughts mostly serves as a retrospective analysis tool. It can also precede action. Okay, there is not necessarily a disconnect between the two. But why we're saying that it can precede action? Because if you look at the spiral goes over and over again. It continues. So if you start with intuition, go to action, then thoughts, and then intuition again. So thoughts gets connected to intuition or emotions. So you have this interaction between thoughts and intuition, and that's what sets you or sets us into action. This is an interesting study of 2011 study, and this is a really applied study into a group of London City traders. And what the study shows is that the traders who make decisions based on listening to their emotions and their intuition tend to perform better in terms of actual salaries that they're getting. They're able to rise above and neutrally observe their emotions without letting themselves be overtaken by them. They can even observe their negative emotions without trying to suppress them. So the idea of having this perspective about this toolbox, knowing what your intuition emotions are and how they kick in your actions, and not letting yourself go into automatic pilot like we talked about mindlessness in a previous lecture. This means that this toolbox is really important for us to exert some mastery into the way we make decisions, the way we act in the world. Another concept I'm going to talk about is the concept of resonance. Now, if you look at, for example, a tuning fork, if you have a tuning fork and you're trying to put your guitar and put the guitar on the right frequency, to know that you're on the right frequency and you strike the right note compared to the tuning fork and your string instrument have to be in resonance. And that's how you know that you strike the right note. So this analogy can work also in terms of this toolbox we call the human vibratory spiral. If you think about vibrations being in resonance, that means that you could imagine that what is around you is in a way in resonance with what you vibrate. So the circumstances that are around you, it would seem logical that they match kind of what it is that you vibrate. Two things I want to point out. One of the things is that if you are focusing on the absence of things, that if you're in a mindset of needing something or wanting something, but you cannot attract the thing that you want that way, because on a vibratory level, and this is really, you can see that all the time when, for example, you look at salesmen who try to sell you something, and you can sense that vibration of despair or forcefulness, and you can sense that they're trying to sell you something, and that is kind of something you're not really happy about. And so you're not in resonance with that, and you know that this person is not necessarily going to succeed. So what I mean is that if you are focusing on lack and need, that's essentially what the quality of your vibration is, and you tend to attract things around you that will kind of mirror back to you need and want. So you cannot attract that thing you want that way. And the other kind of extreme of this is that even if you don't want something, but you put your attention to it and you send those sorts of thoughts and emotions towards it, and you have strong emotions and thinking about it, you may actually attract that very thing you don't want. So this is something to be aware of. If we go back to Napoleon Hill and the New Thought movement, in fact, the modern interpretation of Hill's teachings, couched in the vibrational human vibration spiral terms, which also derives from the quantum physics, is the following. We attract what we focus on by the power of our emotions, our actions, our beliefs and thoughts. And this is really what the human vibration spiral is telling us. Seems fairly obvious, doesn't it? But in a way where we may not be even extremely conscious that we have these tools at our disposal to use them in the right way. And if we understand the connection between these tools and what we attract in our life, we may be more empowered to go in the direction we want. So how can we get focused on the right intention? Technique often used by the Buddhists is called single-pointedness meditation. So it's a way to focus on a particular goal, on a particular visualization, on a particular target that you have in mind. So I will let you, do more research on that particular technique, but that's to exert sustained focus on a particular goal. So I'm going to suggest to you that in a way we attract what we vibrate, and I'm going to talk about limitation vibrations, which come from language, emotions, and actions. So verbal expressions that demonstrate a limitation mentality are I need something, I hope that, I wish that, and then the famous I can't, okay? In terms of body language, people who have low energy and slouching and sad or serious face and then talk without conviction, these are the sign of a limitation consciousness. In terms of emotions, defeatism, self-criticism, pessimism, or fear are also signs of limitations, self-imposed limitations. So it's very important to state that this is not a judgment of being a good person or bad person. It's just a way to point out that this could be limitations that you impose on yourself. On the other hand, you have abundance vibration and that are manifested in everyday language. So showing some gratefulness for what people are doing around you and in the service they are rendering to you. I know deeply within myself that, I'm certain of certain outcomes that are going to be realized. And then talking like the word of I can, for example. This is very important. In terms of body language, demonstrating high energy, standing straight, relaxing attitude, face, and speaking with congruency. That means people feeling that you are aligned with what you're saying. In terms of emotions, showing some self-confidence, enthusiasm, optimism, desire to open to others, and some empathy are signs of the abundance vibration, and that means you attract what you're giving. I'm encouraging you to do this little exercise. Describe one occasion when you felt full of confidence during an activity that was out of the ordinary. What sorts of vibrations were you emitting? And by vibration, I mean what types of emotions were you having? What words, what body language were you having? What were the thoughts in your mind? And then look at the result you produced. And I hope that you can see that there is a connection between these vibrations and the result. So why should we be aware of our vibrations? What's the point? Well, let's just go back to basics and talk about first impressions. Now, Alexander Todorov and his Princeton research team, they found that we render a judgment about attractiveness, trustworthiness, competency, and the aggressive tendencies of another person only after 1/10 of a second after having seen their faces. This type of research, this field of psychology shows that only 7% of what we are communicating comes from our words. The remainder, 38%, comes from the tone of our voice, and 55% come from our body language. Hence, if what we say is not in congruency or misaligned with our body language, we transmit to the other person the impression of being inauthentic. That may not be a problem, but that could actually give rise to problems. So it's very important to pay attention to your overall vibration. So I'm calling it that way, but you know that when I refer to this word, I mean your language, your body language, your words, your emotion, your frame of mind. All this is in a way perceived by other people around you. And this quote by Daniel Goleman, who's, this quote may seem a little extreme, but it's kind of still interesting because it's really pointing to the next level in human interactions. If your emotional abilities aren't in hand, if you don't have self-awareness, if you are not able to manage your distressing emotions, if you can't have empathy and have effective relationships, then no matter how smart you are not going to get very far. And I'm going to amend that statement by saying, not going to get very far in a new 21st century that's rising, that's showing up in the next few years. So let's wrap this course together, and the topic of the course was about money and what is money, and we looked at this final lecture, which is about quantum physics, vibrations, and so let's wrap it up. So quantum physics indicates that all of reality is vibration and energy. So guess what? Money is also a manifested vibration. That's really interesting, because if we understand that money is a manifested vibration, then in a way we have, as the observer, we have some power over kind of, in a way, being in resonance with the vibration of money, which is an interesting proposition. So if you understand that, you will understand that to attract money, you must first be clear that this corresponds to a profound desire within you, which is an internal alignment. And what I'm suggesting here is that essentially people who have become very wealthy and have accumulated a lot of money, they have had that focus. They have emitted this kind of vibrations that were in alignment with that particular goal. And that meant language, words, body language, emotions, state of minds. Next, your personal vibration must be in resonance with that of money. Now, if instead it is prosperity that interests you, obviously that seems like a better package of money, health, good relationships. Who wouldn't want that in your environment? Then why not concentrate on that vibration? And concentrate on vibration means putting out words, putting out body language, putting out emotions, thoughts that are in congruence with attracting that prosperity. So I'm going to give you a couple of tools to help you set in motion these particular types of goals. And I'm going to give you two tools on top of the human vibratory spiral, which is essentially up to you to become aware that you have these particular assets in you and that you can use. But these are more tools for planning and setting goals. So first I'm going to talk about backward induction. Backward induction is essentially drafting a plan and then executing the steps to that plan backwards. What does it mean? Backward induction is the process of reasoning backwards in time from the end of the problem, so you have the result and the goal that you want, and determine the sequence of optimal actions. You're first considering the last decision to be made and choosing what to do in any situation at that time, then move backward in time. So if you're 2 months away from your goal, how you would behave, then how would you behave 6 months away from your goal, and then a year away from your goal, and then maybe a couple of years away from your goal? How would you behave? What actions would you take? So it's really about managing projects. It's really about planning ahead and executing the steps that are logical to take. Now, another technique that's very powerful, and that's the technique of actually looking at the ultimate goal that you wanna set for yourself, and then using backward induction from that goal. But what is the goal, and how can you visualize it? And there's this word that was invented by Joe Vitale called nevelizing. And nevelizing means really a 3D experience visualization of what you want to manifest in your life. So you can visualize, the dream job, the dream relationship, the dream car, whatever it is that you want to visualize, and see what the power that it gives you, and the power to act and to vibrate, again, knowing what the word vibrate means in the context of this presentation, in order for you to achieve that particular goal. So coupling the power of aligned intention, backward induction, plus nevelizing results in a powerful tool for manifesting one's dream. There's this video by Jim Rohn on visualization, which is fun, and I'm going to attach as one of the references. So I invite you to do a couple of little exercises. This is a smaller scale exercise. A question for you: how would you apply the human vibration spiral and backward induction to a particular business project? That's an invitation for you to consider. And then the second type of homework that I would invite you to do is to fill out my daily vibration game table for a week, and then look at the evolution that you've noticed in the way you're able to vibrate. Again, let's be responsible for the term that we're using here. And have you noticed a difference in the achievement of the goals that you had set for yourself? So what is that daily vibration game table? So what we have here is we have a form that you may want to use for a week or maybe longer. And when you start the day, you would write here what your stated goal is for that particular day, what you want to achieve. That could be a small goal, a big goal. And then you would say, okay, what do I consciously vibrate today? And this could be, I'm vibrating confidence, I'm vibrating assertiveness, I'm vibrating gratitude, and this would be a reflection of your body language, of your words that you'd be using towards people, your emotional state, and also your thought pattern, okay? So then you would decide the type of words, that the quality of your words. That's very interesting because we don't usually think about the quality of our words. We would just speak the words that we have. And then you would have to think about the way you would hold yourself during the day. Maybe a little bit harder and it has to do with things like practicing mindfulness, which are really practices that may take months and years to master. But at the same time, you may choose during the day to say, I'm going to focus my thoughts on, for example, being positive towards people. Why not? And today I will feel, and then you choose an emotion here. So that's the beginning of the day. And then when the day is over in the evening, you will do a checklist of what happened. So were my words aligned with my stated goal? So was I clear? Yes. Was I goal-driven? Maybe yes. And was my body language aligned? Was I relaxed? Was I smiling? Was I flexible in my body language? Were my thoughts aligned with my goal? So was my mind calm? Did I feel good? So was I being able to redirect my thoughts toward good feeling thoughts, the thoughts that were empowering me today? So you could choose the category. So maybe I did it, but it was a couple of times today. What kind of emotions did I feel? Okay, was I feeling good? Okay, maybe not so good. But was I able to go back in what we're going to call the vortex? And the vortex, I'm giving a definition here. And the vortex is a mental space of ease, fun, and overall good feelings. So was I able to shift back into that space in a conscious manner today, even though circumstances may have happened, encounters may have happened with people which I may have liked or not liked so much, but I was able to shift back towards the good feelings thoughts that I started the day with. So maybe I had a glimpse of that. Maybe I was not totally able to do this. Okay, so this is a particular technique, particular tool that can help you with essentially setting your goals, which you could visualize, and then essentially use the human vibration spiral to essentially attract the people, the circumstances around you that are a match to your goals. So I want to thank you very much for having participated in this course, and we're seeing you another time. So thank you very much. Bye-bye.